talk about cultural differences, because obviously you're from Venezuela, and I'm gonna put the elephant in the room out there. The first time we spoke about this, I was like, "Oh, right, you're from Brazil." I was like, "Is Venezuela in Brazil?" And you're like, "Lee, what the fuck are you talking about?" But listen, right? I was even dating a Brazilian girl once, and I used to think the same thing, and she never pulled me on it. You're the first person to pull me on this. But where this actually comes from, I wanted to explain myself. When you look at a map, a world map, when you look at South America in big bold letters, it doesn't say South America, it says Brazil.
That's true.
So for me, in my head, all of that was Brazil, and Venezuela and Colombia, they were all part of Brazil. So for some reason, it just didn't compute, because I never got pulled on it. It's like when you look at America, and then you've got California. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah,
you're obviously going to focus more on, like, anyway, at the end of the day, flags, borders, man-made concepts that make no real sense to me anymore. But I would say that maybe we all study the maps that are closer to us. It's like if somebody asks me right now to put a finger on the map where Cambodia is, I have no fucking idea. And I have no idea what other country is next to it or what the border is. I'm really sorry, because I wish I knew. That's not to say that it has more or less importance than any other.
Yeah, it was, like I say, it was a crazy notion for me. It's something I've never been pulled on. Even having a girlfriend who was Brazilian as well, I never got pulled on this fact. It's like she must have looked at me and thought, "Oh, I'm probably a bit of a language barrier. I'm not understanding what Lee's saying." But yeah, like I said, this is the first time anybody pulled me on it. But I wanted to bring it up because you're living in Europe now, aren't you? Where are you based in Europe?
I am in Germany. It's a beautiful little town called Burscheid, which is close to Düsseldorf and Cologne. So I'm within very, like, I can very easily reach either or.
So why Germany out of all the European? I'm guessing you moved to Germany because it's in Europe and the career side of it and things. But why Germany? What stood out for that place?
Well, I always dreamed of living in Europe. Of course, when you dream of something, you still look at it with like rose-tinted glasses. Then you live in the place, and then you have all this, crazy taxes and responsibilities and everything. That, of course, and everyone's going to tell you, "Oh, of course, you should be proud of paying your taxes," because I'm not proud of paying my taxes if I'm not able to cover my own costs first. Like, before I can help society, I should have my own house in the beginning, like in the first place. But that's a different story. That's now that I'm here, I have the same problems that everybody else has, so I complain about the same things. But other than that, it is a beautiful place. The quality of life, of course, you can see it, especially if you travel just a tiny bit to, for example, last weekend I was in Istanbul. Istanbul is a beautiful place. Like, the city is amazing. There's a lot of chaos. There's so much going on. But if you go to the outskirts of Istanbul, I was like, I'm in Venezuela right now. And I mean that, like, also, I hate to say this because it's my country as well, but it's also sadly the truth. Like, some of the bigger cities, of course, they are more developed, but the more rural areas, I think the rural areas in places like Germany or the Netherlands, they look a lot better developed and cleaner than in places like Venezuela, where there's just a lot of poverty sadly happening out there. It's just it's like they've been almost abandoned. You know what I'm saying? And somehow, they still manage. They're still happy. They're still, there's still stuff to do, and you somehow in between all those streets, you find your way to whatever you have to go. But I always wanted to live in Europe. It was always a dream for me, and of course, my music works the best in everything that is mainland Europe, like and also, well, Russia and Ukraine. Back to that subject, it's always a tough one for me, because Russia is a place that I think it's the only country that really recognized the value of my project the way I believe should be recognized, because I've been fighting for this sound for such a long time. And, if I'm playing in Moscow, I'm headlining next to NDC. That doesn't happen anywhere else.
Yeah.
And that's something that, that really, really hurts me, because that wasn't a choice I made. I'd be glad to be, headlining Rampage as well. They just don't call me. You know what I'm saying? I'd be glad to be headlining Boomtown. They just don't call me. I'd be glad to be headlining Bankface Weekend. But that's the thing. There's something that it didn't seem to take off elsewhere as much as it did in Russia or in Ukraine. In Czech Republic as well. Czech Republic was another place that really, and that's why I get to play, you know, in places like Let It Roll. But I still don't play main stage when I play Let It Roll. Like there's still something, there's still a ceiling, and I'm there looking at it like, why are you guys not just putting me there like these people did? We proved it. We proved that it works. Look at the numbers. Everything's fine. Like, but it's just on the live side of things. It never got as far as I could get with places like Russia or Ukraine or Japan. And well, now seeing my two favorite places going to war is like, you know, I mean, obviously that's a very selfish reason to judge it by. There's people dying, and there's entire cities being destroyed. Like, this is the real issue right here. Not me not being able to play in a place or another. But what I'm trying to say here is these things were the natural consequence of me just being almost in a natural way, like, you know, closer to certain people. But like I said, it wasn't a choice that I made. It was just, you know, I put my music out there, and this is where this is gravitating towards. And as a consequence of that, I go there more. I make friends more in those places. And when this whole thing started, actually, my first thought was, which of my friends are in either Russia and Ukraine, and how do I get them out? I helped a good friend of mine that lived in Kiev at the time this whole thing started. We managed to get him a place in Poland. They let him get out because he is Canadian Ukrainian, so he could get out because he was Canadian. If he had a Ukrainian passport, they don't let him out. It's like, no, you get a uniform and you go to the front and you go to die, and you go to kill other people who have the other uniform. And the Russians, the same thing. No, you can't get out of the country. You have to get on a uniform. You have to get a weapon, and you have to go kill the people that we tell you to kill. Yeah. This is how I see it. I'm not able to get on any side of it, because I think everyone's a victim of war in the end.
Yeah, 100%.
So
I mean, we speak to, like you say, you talk about contacts and things you have in Russia, and like I said, with all this going on, is I know Russian and Ukrainian producers that are great friends and speak to each other, because it, like I say, they're just the victims of it. They're not obviously controlling it, of what's going on and things like that. But you bring up Russia and the drum and bass in there. I mean, in my eyes, a couple of things with Russia. Number one, it's one of the toughest scenes to crack in the world with drum and bass. It takes a lot to get booked to get there. There's only a certain amount of people they book, but when you're there, it's great, and you continue getting booked. And the other thing as well, they've got some of the biggest events in the world that you've never heard of. Do you know what I mean? And I think the first time I ever saw drum and bass on a crazy large scale was the 2008 Pirate Station, like bigger than anything now as well, isn't it? I mean, you look at Rampage, Let It Roll. I mean, this place had indoor arenas with 30,000 people in these indoor arenas, and they're still rolling those out, aren't they? Still there. And I think even some of the artists are still the same artists from 2008 as well. I mean, DJ SS, he's still over there all the time. Do you know what I mean? But you rarely see some of the big new breed over there. They've kind of stuck with the artists that they know from the early noughties and things like that, haven't they?
It's that's just said, it's a tough scene to crack. I don't know how I got so lucky. It just happened one day that, you know, the guys from Radio Record just called me. I think it was I made a song called Revolution, and they used this theme. You know, they have different themes on each Pirate Station, similar to, you know, the Cirque du Soleil. Every festival has a theme, and I always thought that was such a beautiful thing. They have all these people like dancing on stage and doing all these circus tricks, like flying around. It's unbelievable. It's a beautiful thing, and there's a lot of performance aspect to it. It's not just, you're not just a guy there with a hoodie, you know, looking depressed and pushing buttons. No, you have to perform. And I think that's why me wearing a mask especially was something that fit right into the Russian scene, because they're very...
Well, again, they were one of the first to do these big stage shows as well, weren't they? Do you know what I mean? They were doing it before some of the big American brands even, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I implore anybody watching, go to YouTube, look up Pirate Station 2008, 2009, 2010, and even beyond that, it'll surprise you what you see there in Russia. It's phenomenal what they've done.
Yeah, man. Really, really good people as well. Just, ravers. And like I said, I separate these things from politics. It's ravers.
Yeah.
It's it like it makes no sense at all to put everyone in the same on the same box, so to say. But sadly, that's happening a lot. That's happening a lot. And I guess in a way, I get it. If you're, especially if you're, in a war zone and you've been fighting this for such a long time, the only association you will have with the Russian flag is this. So, I can also understand why someone who's like, struggled in Ukraine and then hears us both maybe talking about how amazing drum of his festivals are in Russia, they're just gonna get triggered. And I completely understand that. I completely relate to that. I feel compassionate about it as well. But the only thing I can say, being myself from a place like Venezuela, where where we're always also like pitted against each other constantly, when you get out of that and you look at things on a bigger scale, you really realize that we're all victims of it. We're all like people on different sides given different uniforms and just being told because of some old guy had a beef with another guy on the phone or whatever, and then they say, here's your uniform, go kill these people. Or because this guy says this place of land is mine and this other place, no, this is mine, and then we kill each other because of that. Like, the land does not belong to anybody. It's all a big illusion. The land does not belong to anybody. We die and the land's gonna stay there. We're not gonna.
What's up, everyone? Lee UHF here, the host of DNB Wraps. Thank you for watching our videos. If you like what you're hearing and seeing on the channel, please make sure you're subscribing to it. Please make sure you thumbs up the videos, and more importantly, let's get some comments going as well. It really helps the channel, and in order for us to provide this content to you, we do need the channel to grow. So we can't do this without your help. Hope you enjoy the video. Speak to you soon.